Attorneys for the man arrested on charges of trying to kidnap a toddler at a Walmart now plan to sue the city of Acworth. Mahendra Patel spent 46 days in jail, and months later, all those charges against him were dropped. Good Day's Brittany Edney is live in Acworth this morning. His attorney says they're considering $25 million suit. Good morning.
Yeah, Caitlin, that's right. Good morning to you. His attorney has sent over a letter of intent to the city, basically saying that there is a plan to possibly file a lawsuit against the city after Patel says that his life was turned upside down.
Mahendra Patel was arrested on charges of trying to kidnap a toddler at a Walmart in March.
I see a couple of officers pointing gun at me, and I was so frightened.
He spent 46 days in jail. Months later, all charges against him were dropped. He was cleared with the help of surveillance video obtained by his attorney, which she says showed Patel was only trying to assist Caroline Miller, not snatch her 2-year-old son. The letter of intent says it is for Patel's unlawful arrest, incarceration, and malicious prosecution, an experience he says severely impacted his health.
In the jail, people don't take it lightly when you try to do something with the kids. So I got death threats, people want to beat me up.
The city sent Fox 5 a copy of its response stating, quote, the city of Acworth denies any and all liability related to said matter.
Patel says that his business has also been impacted and that while he wants to move on with his life, he does fear that he's always going to be associated with that mugshot. Reporting live at Acworth City Hall, I'm Brittany Edney for Good Day Atlanta.
What an ordeal. All right, thanks, Brittany. Fast and the Furious star Tyrese Gibson now out on bond. You're looking at his mugshot from the Fulton County Jail. He turned himself in yesterday on a cruelty to animals charge. This comes after he missed an initial date to surrender. Investigators say his dogs killed a neighbor's pet in Buckhead back on September 18th. And that neighbor, Harrison Parker, says he's relieved that Gibson was charged. Gibson says he has rehomed the animals, but Fulton County Chairman Rob Pitt says he hasn't revealed their whereabouts.
Until such time as we find that out, it's still an open case as far as we're concerned.
It's kind of scummy to get them out of the house.
Earlier this week, Gibson's lawyer sent out a statement extending condolences and asking for forgiveness. Gibson facing misdemeanor cruelty to animals charge. New video this morning showing journalist Mario Guevara in El Salvador after being deported by the Trump administration, showing him being escorted by the El Salvador government before being greeted by emotional family members yesterday. He'd been detained by immigration authorities for more than 100 days following his arrest during a No Kings protest last June in DeKalb County. You're looking at that police video right there. He was charged with misdemeanors, including obstruction and unlawful assembly. Those charges were later dropped. Guevara's lawyers have insisted their client was authorized to work in the United States, despite not having legal status.
Looking at the facts of his case, he was already granted a bond by an immigration judge. Why? Because we showed he wasn't a danger to the community, and we showed that he wasn't a flight risk, and we showed that he is eligible and has a very high likelihood of success of getting his green card. So for all those reasons, and just like every other case we've ever had, that's why he should be allowed to stay here.
Members of the Committee to Protect Journalists are now calling the deportation shameful, saying, quote, it's a troubling sign of the deteriorating freedom of the press under the Trump administration. Now to a news alert this morning. Police are trying to figure out who is responsible for a triple shooting here in northwest Atlanta. Police say officers responded to the Verdant Drive crime scene around 1:15 yesterday afternoon, discovered that someone had driven the 3 gunshot victims to the hospital. We've learned that 2 of them are now in critical shape. It's not clear who fired those shots or why. If you know anything, contact police. A potential breakthrough in ending the war in Gaza. Hamas announcing it would release all Israeli hostages and come to the negotiating table under the right conditions. Last night, the president told Israel to immediately stop the bombing. And Fox's Caroline Shively has the latest on this from Washington.
I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents.
The White House releasing this video Friday night after Hamas announced it was willing to free all Israeli hostages under certain conditions.
We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down and concrete.
But Hamas did not agree to all of the president's 20-point plan.
Well, there are definitely a couple of poison pills in the Hamas statement. The biggest one is that the end state they anticipate is a unified Palestinian framework with Hamas completely involved.
Friday morning, President Trump laid out a Sunday night deadline for Hamas leaders to accept the deal.
If they don't, the consequences, unfortunately, are going to be very tragic.
Then Friday afternoon, Hamas announced a willingness for a hostage exchange. Their official statement made no mention of destroying tunnels and weapon production facilities as required in the U.S. plan. But a Hamas leader said Friday they would give up arms if Palestinians are put in charge of Gaza.
I think that this is a White House that is willing to take what they can get when they can get it.
It's estimated Hamas is still holding on to 20 living hostages and the bodies of 28 others.
This has drug on far too long. These hostages have been kept now for far too long. It must come to an end.
Tuesday marks the second anniversary of the war, which has killed more than 1,200 Israelis and 66,000 Palestinians. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
The government shutdown will continue through the weekend. This after the Senate once again failed to advance the Republican House-passed stopgap funding bill yesterday. That vote was 54-44, but Republicans need 60 votes in order to pass the bill that would fund the government for 7 more weeks. The vote came after the Senate failed to advance the Democrats' stopgap funding bill. Senators aren't expected to vote again on reopening the government until next week. Democrats insist on extending protections for health care subsidies. Those subsidies would keep costs down for Americans who depend on the Affordable Care Act exchange for insurance.
We know Americans want this. And we know many of my Republican colleagues want this as well.
How much longer this shutdown lasts depends entirely on Democrats. The choice is theirs.
Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson says his members won't be returning to Washington next week, while Georgia Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff is urging lawmakers to pass a bill and soon. In a statement released yesterday, he says if the shutdown continues, Georgians will suffer in the form of spikes on their health care premiums. He said, quote, Senate Republicans again blocked a bill to fund the federal government and prevent massive increases in health insurance premiums. More than 20 million Americans will see their health insurance premiums double next year without congressional action, while President Trump continues to refuse to work on a solution. Republican Representative Buddy Carter, who's running against Ossoff for Senate, saying his party did its job, posting on X, House GOP did our job, Democrats shut the government down, cutting access to essential services, including telehealth.